All right, this is getting ridiculous. Has anybody seen my glasses? Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Totally Tim Show. I'm Totally Tim, and today we're going to be talking about plumbing. Not just any plumbing, but we're going to be talking about copper pipe water supply. So potable water. We're going to be doing some copper fittings, and I'm going to show you how to sweat those. And I'm also going to show you the difference between the two major kinds of them. We're not going to do shark bite or any of that other stuff, but we're going to do the actual soldered pipe fittings. And let's get started. I'm going to need some emery cloth or sandpaper, a cutter, which is something that you're going to need to cut your pipe with. You want to make sure your cuts are square. That's the reason why I use a pipe cutter. A fitting brush, which is basically it goes inside the fitting to clean the inside of the fitting. A couple of solder paste brushes, some paste, soldering paste, and some lead-free. Make sure that we do this right. Lead-free. We want to make sure that we have solid wire, lead-free solder, because even if this isn't going to be in a potable situation, even if this isn't going to be for your drinking water, let's say you're running a copper pipe for something else, it's always good to make sure that you use this type of solder, just in case you end up pulling that copper off and using it somewhere else. It's possible. Copper is kind of a recyclable thing. Oh, and by the way, you're also going to need copper piping, or the piping. So let's talk about the two types of pipe that there are. This is M, or schedule or class M pipe, and it's 1/2 inch. M is very solid pipe. It's very rigid type pipe. L is soft copper pipe, and it can be flexible and you can move it. Now, they are different IDODs too. So if you're running a 1/2 inch L pipe and you're trying to use a 1/2 inch fitting, it's probably not going to work. So you'll have to make some differences, but we're not going to go into L copper right now. L is typically you would use flared fittings for L. Now we have two different style of fittings that we're looking at. This particular style of fitting actually has the solder built right into it. You can tell by this band. There's a banded piece that is with this, and this is just a regular. So this is a regular T, has a straight through and then an offshoot, and this is a pre-fluxed or pre-soldered fitting. They're both very, very different, and how they act and how they're applied is very, very different as well. And I got an extra 90 just kind of laying around here so that we can talk about that. So let's talk about fittings. There's a number of them. This is called an L because it's shaped like an L or a J, but actually it is an L. It is an L, and it's a 90 degree. What's called a 90 degree L, or you could also, this has been called an elbow. This has been called a 90. This is a T. There's 45s. There's what's called street fittings. Street fittings are where they have an opening in one side which would fit the material, like the piping, and then the other side is made smaller so that it would actually fit inside of another fitting, inside the hub of a fitting. I don't actually have any of those, so we're just going to go with what we have, okay? Let's start with cleaning the fittings. So we have a brush. Now, your hands are clean. Wear the appropriate safety equipment that you feel is necessary. So if you feel that you need some glasses, definitely wear glasses. You should wear safety glasses no matter what you're doing. I've done this for a lot of years, and so lead by example. Wear safety glasses. Wear your safety glasses. So when doing the fitting, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we stick the brush in, and we want to go all the way to what's called the end of the fitting, or where it starts basically. So your pipe actually goes into a 1/2 inch fitting about 1/2 of an inch, 7/16, but about 1/2 of an inch, and then a 3/4 it goes about 3/4 of the way. It's just use that as a philosophy, right? So go in about 1/2 an inch, and then spin your brush one direction. Don't ever go the other direction. Just spin it one direction. Spin, spin, spin. You can do this a couple of times. And what you're looking for is a very clean fitting on the inside. We're looking for no glazing. We want it to be shiny, but we want to make sure that it looks like it's all been sanded down, or it's all been roughed up. And we're going to do that to both sides. And then we're going to take our fitting and lay it on the table, and we're going to do our other fitting while we're just kind of standing here. And then I'll show you guys what to do after that. And for these fittings, we're just going to use the regular fittings to start with. So regular sweating, that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to take this is our soldering paste, and our paste brush, and we're just going to we're going to put some soldering paste on the brush, kind of dab it off the end. So we don't have like too much on there, right? Like not too much. And we're going to make sure that we get a nice, even, thin coat on all of the edges. All of the inside edges, I'm sorry. Here I'm holding it down so you guys can't see it, right? I'm keeping it away. Actually, just on the inside edges, right? So we're going to make sure that we keep a nice thin layer on the inside of those edges. If you feel like maybe you didn't get it, go back. But do not touch it with don't stick your finger in there and don't lick it. It's kind of gross. So we'll go ahead and do both fittings. And then I'm going to show you guys a very common scenario, and we'll go with that. Okay, got them done. The two fittings that we're going to use. Two fittings for this first stage that we're going to use. Using a thumb cutter is pretty easy. So you would measure out where you want your cut, and then you would place the unit in there, and you tighten it down with this thumb screw. So you just tighten it down, and then we're just going to twist it a couple of times around the pipe. Pretty simple. And then we're going to tighten this thumb screw down again, and we're just going to continue doing that. Turn it a little bit and tighten it down a little bit more. These particular ones are like really cheap, right? So it takes a little while longer to go ahead and cut that piece off. Now we have a piece of pipe, and we'll go ahead and cut a couple more pieces of pipe. Now that we have our pipe cut to length, the length that we want, we're going to go ahead and take our piece of sandpaper or emery cloth, and we're just going to clean off about a 1/2 of an inch or 3/4 of an inch of the end. We just need to rough it up. We need to break the glaze, as we call it. So it looks a lot like that. Although we only needed one, we'll go ahead and we're going to put some paste on one of our ends. You guys see how thin I put it on there? It's not real thick. And we'll put our fitting inside. Now, if you are in a position where you have a piece that could be hanging down, and well, yeah, as a matter of fact, let's deal with that here in just a second, but not until then. So this piece, we now have this piece, and we need another little piece. And now we'll take our two pieces and put them together. Now, neither of these have been soldered. None of it has been soldered. But let's say that you were in a scenario where you were going to solder these, and the deal with the soldering was that it was hanging and this piece kept falling out. Right now the fittings are really super snug. They fit really super well. I didn't put too much in there. I will tell you how you can fix that. Real quick, just wait a second. Hold on, just don't go anywhere. I'm back with the pair of pliers. So what you would do is, with a standard pair of pliers, you make them all the way out, and you just apply a light bit of, and this is 1/2 inch. So you just apply a light bit of pressure. Wait, okay, just a really light bit of pressure. I'm like really, just a light bit of pressure. Okay, so we have to put a little bit of pressure on it. Not so much as it eggs it or makes it look like an egg, but enough that it will actually just put just a tiny kink in there, and that will make it solid so it doesn't just come out. Let's solder these. Well, to be honest, this is probably one of the worst directions you could go, is if they are they're going down like this. It's better if it's actually going up like this. This is a better angle to actually solder than the going down one. And the reason why is because once you start to solder this, and this heats up, it'll typically fall out. But what we're going to do is, I should probably explain it first, right? So what we are going to do is we're going to heat the knuckle, the very back portion of this fitting. This particular end right here, the very knuckle of it, the outside knuckle. And then we're going to lay our solder on this piece of pipe, the joining piece of pipe, and up against the fitting. Now once it starts to melt, the farthest away, so we'll hold it on the bottom. Once it starts to melt, then we'll release the heat and go all the way around with our solder. And that way we get a perfect seal. We'll do the same thing on the bottom. I like to start on the bottom if it's possible, so just to make sure that it's going to hold. So let's go ahead and put this together really quick and see how it works out.
The button part, I'm going to try and start on the bottom. You can see that the paste is actually melting. I have a sneaking suspicion it's probably going to... Come on. There we go. So we got our bottom fitting. Take our heat away. And we have a little bulb of stuff that we don't care too much about that. We'll move to the top. We'll go ahead and put our solder on. And we're finished with that joint.
Now this is our fitting, so we have this little run, but the joint itself is perfect. This particular part of the joint is perfect. It's nice, it's even, there's no little gaps or little holes or anything like that in it, so I've definitely studied it. Now on the other side, which was the flat side, so it was like this. On the flat side, if we take a look, a very close look, or an even closer look, what we see is there's a little tiny spot where we may have missed it. And I know you guys probably can't see it, but there is a little tiny spot, and it's right in this area where it doesn't quite look like it may have made it. Now, we can either take this apart, we can resolder it by using, how we're going to resolder it is, if we were to resolder it, we would want to take our soldering paste with us and put a little bit of soldering paste on it, because I haven't messed with it. So I haven't ran any water through it. Basically, I just let it cool. But if you ran water through it and you find, oh goodness, I have a leak, and that's kind of the reason why we did this, oh goodness, I have a leak. So I'm going to show you guys how to fix this really super quick. Well, yeah, and if there was anything I forgot, any questions you might have, or you just want to make a comment, do so below and let me know what you think. If you guys do need any help, just write it in the comments below and I will get back to you. And if I don't get back to you, somebody else will. I'm positive, you guys, I will help you figure out whatever your problem is, whatever your issue is. It's pretty simple. Copper is one of my favorite things to use. So, see you guys in the next one.